arrest of Gautam Navlaka in the Nia Koregaon case. And now what has happened is that subsequently after the appeal was moved, a hearing took place. And now the Supreme Court has directed that though the order of house arrest cannot be gone away with, but then definitely some relief has been given to the NIA that they would be sealing these exit points. The NIA had cited that, in fact, a window pane near the kitchen and also a ceiling near the kitchen were some kind of exit points which could be used to flee. And now the NIA has been directed to actually seal those premises, those particular exit points. And in fact, what has been said by the central government is that the perception of this house arrest being given is coming out to be like a terrorist being handled with a kid's glove. So very, very important observation coming in from the top court. But we'll have to wait and watch as to how things pan out and what happens next into this particular case. Anusha.
Thank you, Ananya, for getting us all the details on that entire story. Nia Koregaon, a very important case. Well, with that, it's a wrap from my side. Poonam joins you with the Nation at 5.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching CNN News 18. This is Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. Over the next 1 hour, there's lots lined up for you, but let's get you started with a super exclusive news break here on this broadcast. 38 Indian nationals who were victims of job offers of a transnational crime syndicate in Myanmar were repatriated to India yesterday. Now, this is in a series of rescue efforts that have been taken by the MEA with their counterparts in Myanmar. Remember, so far 160 Indian nationals have been rescued and brought back home. But now, CNN News 18 has learned that there is a clear Chinese link to the entire scam. This is the exclusive information that we have accessed for you. The Chinese link and how they operated, of how they lured these Indian techies and allegedly then abducted and tortured them, many of whom who have now been repatriated back home due to efforts that have been going on since July this year from the MEA's side. The centre has been in constant touch with their counterparts both in Myanmar and in Thailand as well. Abhishek, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Abhishek, there seems to be a clear Chinese link emerging. Some companies of Chinese origin are behind this scam.
Of course, and we know that it's been long believed that Chinese nationals and very much organized syndicates are working in these South Asian nations, recruiting people and forcing them to do this spamming and money laundering things in the name of cyber in the cyber world. And when this whole Indians being trapped in Maidos news came, the Chinese were the first who looked suspicious in the sense that they have a full-fledged, well-organized system where they recruit people from nearby countries like Thailand and they take them back to Myanmar where they seize their passport and then force them to do work as per their own wishes. So now, with the latest batch of about 39 Indians being rescued and brought to India, there are still reports of Indians being trapped there, but Indian agencies or the government's High Commissioner in Myanmar, they are trying to reach out to the people through official channels or informal channels because the region where this spamming thing or cyber crime thing is happening is very much in a conflicted zone where government does not have a full-fledged authority. So the Indian authorities there are trying to reach out to the people through various means and through various interlocutors so that Indians trapped there could be rescued as soon as possible.
Right, Abhishek, do stay on with me because let's just break this down for our viewers of what exactly has transpired. And it is a month-long or several months-long operation that has actually been underway by the MEA here in India, trying to get in touch with their counterparts both in Myanmar and in Thailand as well, where these techies were abducted and actually kept there. Now, this is the Chinese link that now seems to be emerging, and this is what we've learned from our sources within the intelligence sources. There are Indians that were trapped by these Chinese companies. They were operating in a gambling town in Myanmar. So all of these Indian techies were taken there. Then given to understand that there are agents in India and in Dubai through whom these Indian techies were lured by these Chinese companies and then eventually taken there. These techies were recruited in the name of online marketing. They were then pushed into this scamming business. That's what we're now learning from our sources. There were several other foreign nationals that were duped as well, not just Indians. There were other nationalities that also fell prey to this kind of a scam that was run by these Chinese companies. Since 2002 in May, several foreign nationals have landed in that particular gambling town, many of whom were Indians. 160 so far have been repatriated. Now here is a look at the modus operandi of how these Chinese firms actually operated. These are online casinos that are banned in China. In mainland China, gambling and these online casinos are banned. So these companies that want to operate their operations for gambling, for online casinos, they do so elsewhere, which is why these Chinese-run scamming companies have established their base in at least 2 towns known as gambling towns in Myanmar. That's the modus operandi that they follow to try and escape the laws that are in place on mainland China. The next, what they do is they scam these techies, not just from India, but around the world via agents that are based in their particular country. They lure the youth with basic computer skills to do scam jobs. So anyone who has any basic computer skills is someone who is hireable for them, and that's what they're looking for. Youth, especially young boys and girls, because they fall prey to the opportunity of having to work abroad or perhaps the money that is being promised to them. Allegedly, these employees are also then being tortured by their managers, all of whom who are Chinese, to achieve their targets. So not only are they kept there against their will and scammed into doing a job that they were told not to, they're also being tortured. There are long hours, is what many of these Indian techies who are now back home have also told CNN News 18. Those SOS messages, remember, came to the fore from both Myanmar and Thailand as well. So that's really the modus operandi of how this entire nexus worked. And Abhishek, my colleague, continues to be with me. Abhishek, whether these Chinese firms were operating on their own, did they have any sort of support from China or from the administration? That is also something that will have to be investigated.
I see, one can only wish to understand that if a syndicate which is so much organized that it is it's an expansion from Myanmar to Cambodia to the part of Laos as well, there has to be some informal government setup who would let this flourish. Otherwise, it would not be possible to have a syndicate or an organized crime expanding across these 3-4 countries and operating with full force. Also, the part of the money that they earn do go to the revolutionaries or the militia who are operating in these countries of Cambodia, Laos or Myanmar. We know that in Myanmar there is a military junta which is currently operating, and part of various pockets in the country are still not very much reachable by the government authorities because juntas does not wield the kind of connect or the control in those regions, and revolutionaries forces or the militias hold the control. So it's a clear money laundering process where everybody is earning money through scamming or spamming process, while the Chinese provide the expertise in the name of luring young professionals, promising them high money and high promotion. The money is clearly earned, and it must be distributed at multiple levels to let this organized setup continue to flourish in so many countries at one point in time for various years.
Absolutely. Now we've heard and it's also under investigation the linkages of Chinese firms that have been scamming Indians. This of course is a separate case. This is also to do with taking them into another country altogether. But there are also these Chinese loan apps, and they are under investigation for their operations here in India as well.
Of course, and the Chinese loan app case that you rightly mentioned, we have seen in the last several months so many cases of distressed people taking their own lives because of they fell prey to this Chinese loan app which promises loan at a very easy conditions, and they do provide loan of 5,000, 50,000 or 1 lakh rupee at easy installments. But then they try to exploit people also. Sometimes they have stored data from their mobile and their photographs, their personal information were put on the public domain. That kind of force people to further desperation. So clearly, Chinese warlords in cyberspace are a real menace in this South Asian region, and they are trying to exploit young professionals.
Right, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest, that exclusive scoop here on CNN News 18 about this racket that some Chinese firms seem to now be running, and techies and hireable youth in India should beware. Shifting focus now to news coming in is the investigation in the Shraddha murder case progresses. Sources are now telling your channel that there is a game plan that the Delhi police has made as far as their Maharashtra visit is concerned, especially in Vasai. They will be making a timeline of the case and verify the claims that have been made by Aftab. Common friends are going to be tracked down. Their statements are going to be recorded because remember, The confession that Aftab has made before the police holds no legal ground. The police will have to find evidence to corroborate the claims he makes, which is why a team of the Delhi police is in Maharashtra in Vasai, where Aftab and Shraddha were living before they moved to the national capital. Their friends are going to be tracked down. Some of their relatives are also likely to be questioned. Mihir is now live with me for more on this. Mihir, what else have you gathered from your sources?
We can tell you at this point what sources do suggest us is that the Delhi police has already started its work. In fact, two friends of Shraddha have recorded their statements with the Delhi police. In fact, one of them is a female. So this is what is coming at this point. At this point, the Delhi police has a clear motive in mind. They have a couple of things they need to clear to ensure that they get some breakthrough in this case. What they want is to create a timeline of Shraddha and Aftab. They want to find out when did they meet first, how did it all start, where were these couple hanging out, who were the set of friends, where did they work and what were they up to. So all these things the police is going to investigate in detail. Apart from that, there are certain claims made by Aftab in his statement which also talks about the mobile phone of Shraddha. Remember, Shraddha's mobile phone is very important. As for some of the testimonies of people who've been very closely associated to Shraddha, they've said that there is some sort of incriminating evidence against Aftab which could really be very crucial to this case. So retrieving that telephone is very important for the police, and from what we understand, yes, Aftab is constantly changing his statements and not cooperating. But one of the claims that he made is that one of the phone of Shraddha was thrown in Mumbai. So the police will also look into that matter. Apart from that, they will be recording statements of the friends as well as the family. One of the allegations which is coming to light is also that somewhere the family was aware of the kind of toxic relationship Shraddha was into, and time and again they tried to pacify her and come back to the relationship. So these all allegations will be something that the Delhi police will be looking at, and for that they will be questioning and taking statements of family members, friends in this particular case.
Right, so a timeline is being established by the Delhi police, who is in Mumbai there, who is in Maharashtra. We do know that statements of our friends have already been recorded. Have we been able to track down Aftab's parents or his family? Have the police managed to contact them yet?
That detail we don't know at this point, but definitely they would be talking to Aftab's family also. Remember, when the first missing report was filed, the Palghar police reached out to Aftab's family time and again to question them and find out where the son was, why was he there. Apart from that, also to get details about the relationship between the two. Remember, Shraddha was missing and Shraddha's family filed the missing report, and that's why the police had knocked the door of the Poonawala's, that is Aftab's family, and questioned them in detail as to understand what sort of relationship there was. We also spoke to some of the members of the society in which the Poonawala's lived. However, they painted a different picture, saying all was well in the family. Shraddha was a frequent visitor. But in this case, the police will have to really dig deeper to understand, because there are many testimonies coming out which is really pointing towards the fact that she was in a toxic relationship. She was subjected to physical abuse time and again, for which she also sought help at various times from people, and also tried to get some sort of medical help, not only for herself but for all Aftab, who was having anger issues.
Right, so all those details are tumbling out, and for 5 more days, Aftab is going to be in the custody of the Delhi police. Their investigation is going to progress, and we'll keep a track of all that and much more here on CNN News 18. Before now, shifting focus to the big conference that was held today and inaugurated by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and that is the one which wants to choke funds for terrorism. At that conference, at his inaugural address, Prime Minister Modi took a dig at Pakistan. Of course, he did not name Pakistan, but his hint was clear. While addressing the No Money for Terror Ministerial Conference on counter-terror financing, the Prime Minister said that there are certain countries that support terrorism as part of their foreign policy. He went on to say that such countries must be isolated globally and that a cost must be imposed on them. Union Home Minister, in fact, Amit Shah also took a whale jibe at Pakistan. He said that some countries save terrorists and their doublespeak on terrorism will be exposed. Now, there are going to be 4 sessions in the 2-day conference. There is online radicalization and use of cryptocurrency and crowdfunding as well as far as terror activities are concerned. But listen in to what Prime Minister Modi and Union Home Minister Amit Shah had to say.
Terrorist organizations get money through several sources. One source is state support. Certain countries support terrorism as part of their foreign policy. There must be a cost imposed upon countries that support terrorism. Organizations and individuals that try to create sympathy for terrorists must also be isolated. The world needs to unite against all kinds of overt and covert backing of terror.
टेररिस्ट अपनी पहचान छिपाने के लिए और रेडिकल मटेरियल को फैलाने के लिए डार्क नेट का उपयोग कर रहे हैं। साथ ही क्रिप्टो करेंसी जैसे वर्चुअल एसेट्स का भी उपयोग बढ़ रहा है। कुछ देश आतंकवादियों का बचाव करते हैं और उन्हें पनाह भी देते हैं। किसी आतंकवादी को संरक्षण देना आतंकवाद को बढ़ावा देने के बराबर है। ये हमारी सामूहिक जिम्मेदारी है कि ऐसे तत्व और ऐसे देश अपने इरादों में कभी सफल न हो सके। सत्ता परिवर्तन तथा अल कायदा और आईसिस का बढ़ता प्रभाव रीजनल सिक्योरिटी के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण चुनौती के रूप में उभर कर सामने आया है। ऐसे तत्वों को स्पॉन्सर करने वाले तथा इनको सपोर्ट करने वाले डबल स्पीक को भी हमने उजागर करना पड़ेगा।
Arunima, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. And Arunima, the hint that came to the fore both from the Prime Minister and the Home Minister was extremely clear. They didn't have to name Pakistan when they made the comments that they did at that conference. They also went on to say that terrorism can only be uprooted when we strike at the financing of it. And that's really the motive of this entire conference, isn't it?
Yes, without naming Pakistan or China, the message was given very loud and clear. Pakistan has claimed that they were not invited. India has refrained from officially saying that. They've only said that Pakistan has not participated in this conference. China, they said, was invited. I think China sent a embassy-level delegation there, so very small delegation there. But what the Prime Minister and the Home Minister both indicated was that you have to, attack those and criticize those who, as part of their state policy, are sponsoring terror, obvious reference towards Pakistan. He also said that in the context of Afghanistan, this is what the Home Minister said, that, we have seen, the world has suffered 9/11 because of the regime change that happened in Central Asia and the way terror groups were harbored there, a reference to Al-Qaeda. And he categorically named that both for Al-Qaeda and Taliban, we have to be cautious because this regime change and the soft, glove approach that is being taken for them could be in trouble. Now, for China also, he said, without naming, both the Prime Minister and the Home Minister said that you cannot really handle a particular situation of terrorism just because the country in the dock is your ally or you consider that ally. There should be zero tolerance for any kind of terrorism. In the same breath, I think keeping into mind the sensibilities of all those who were participating, Home Minister also said that we acknowledge that terrorism is not based on any religion or terrorism is not based on any nationality. All kinds of terrorism must be dealt with in the same way. So the message was very clear.
Right, Arunima, thank you so much for getting us the latest. More news now coming in, and CNN News 18 has accessed Shraddha's chats from back in 2020, where she can be seen telling a friend about how she fractured her nose. Now, she claims she tripped while climbing stairs, but we have seen pictures which have been accessed by us here on CNN News 18, which show Shraddha with a bruised face. Her several friends have spoken of how she told them and confided in them about the abuse that was rained on her by her live-in partner Aftab Poonawala. Now there are more chats that are coming to the fore that attest to the same. Shankar Anand, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Shankar, कुछ और चैट सामने आए हैं जिन पे इन्वेस्टिगेशन अभी हो रही है. पुलिस का क्या मानना है? क्या ये बातें जो हो रही हैं श्रद्धा और उनके दोस्तों में, क्या ये जो अब्यूज आफ्ताब उनके साथ करता था, क्या ये उसके दिशा में इन्वेस्टिगेशन होगी अब?
देखिए, जिस तरह से इस मामले में साउथ दिल्ली जिला पुलिस इस मामले की तफ्तीश कर रही है, और इस तफ्तीश के दौरान में जिस तरह से श्रद्धा के कुछ चैट्स जो है जिस तरह से सामने आ रहे हैं, तो इतना तो स्पष्ट पता चल रहा है कि जब श्रद्धा और आफ्ताब जब दोनों लिविंग में रह रहे थे, उस वक्त में दोनों के बीच में रिश्ते बहुत अच्छे नहीं थे। दोनों के बीच में काफी नोकझोंक होती थी, काफी मारपीट होती थी, और जो रिश्ते हैं उस रिश्ते में काफी करवाहट थी। लेकिन फिर भी उस रिश्ते को क्यों आगे बढ़ाया जा रहा था, क्यों उस रिश्ते में वो दोनों एक दूसरे के साथ में जुड़े हुए थे, ये मैटर जो है इन्वेस्टिगेशन का है। और एक तरह से इतना तो स्पष्ट है, जिस तरह से कई बार श्रद्धा को जो चोट लगी है उसको जिस तरह से आफ्ताब के द्वारा मारा गया था, तो एक इतना तो स्पष्ट है कि ये मामला जो है वो आने वाले वक्त में काफी और भी चीजें निकल के सामने आ सकती हैं। और अभी तक जो चीजें कई जो चैट्स और कई मेडिकल रिपोर्ट्स जो सामने आ रहे हैं, तो उस रिपोर्ट के मुताबिक इतना है कि कई बार श्रद्धा को चोट लगी है, और यहाँ तक कि कुछ तस्वीरें भी सामने आ रही हैं। उन तस्वीरों में भी देखा जा सकता है कि श्रद्धा के नाक पर, कभी आंख के नीचे, और कई बार उसके चेहरे पर, गाल पर काफी निशान है। तो इतना स्पष्ट है कि दोनों के बीच में रिश्ते बहुत अच्छे नहीं थे। और जिस तरह से वो चैट जो है, वो चैट कई तरह के इंडिकेट्स कर रहे हैं कि दोनों के बीच में किस तरह का रिश्ता आ रहा है। तो इन तमाम मामलों पर भी विस्तार से पूछताछ की जा रही है। और इसके साथ ही दिल्ली पुलिस की जो एक टीम है वो भी मुंबई पहुंची है, और मुंबई पहुंचने के बाद श्रद्धा और आफ्ताब दोनों के जो दोस्त हैं उनको खंगाल रहे हैं। तो कोशिश की जा रही है कि आफ्ताब के जो दोस्त हैं उससे बातचीत किया जाए, और श्रद्धा के जो कई दोस्त हैं उससे बातचीत करने की कोशिश करेगी दिल्ली पुलिस, जिससे कि इस मामले को समझने में और ज्यादा आसानी हो। इसके लिए कई लोगों से भी संपर्क साधा जा रहा है। जी।
और शंकर, ये जो चैट्स बाहर निकल के आ रही है, अभी तक श्रद्धा का फोन तो बरामद हुआ नहीं है, तो ये चैट्स क्या उनके जो दोस्त है वो शेयर कर रहे हैं दिल्ली पुलिस के साथ, और क्या उनकी भी पूछताछ होगी, क्या उनका भी स्टेटमेंट रिकॉर्ड किया जाएगा?
निश्चित तौर पे देखिए, जो श्रद्धा के कई दोस्त हैं उसके द्वारा उन तमाम चैट्स के बारे में जानकारी साझा की जा रही है। जैसे जैसे इस मामले पर जो जानकारी सामने आई श्रद्धा के की हत्या के बाद, जिस तरह से जानकारियां लोगों को मिल रही हैं, तो उसके बाद लोग अपने जो चैट या अपने फोटोग्राफ जो श्रद्धा से संबंधित है उसको अब साझा कर रहे हैं, और दिल्ली पुलिस के भी कोऑपरेट कर रहे हैं। और हालांकि दिल्ली पुलिस अभी भी जो तमाम जो शेयर करने वाले लोगों का नाम इजहार नहीं कर रही है, क्योंकि जो लोग हैं वो खुद चाहते हैं कि उनका नाम अभी सार्वजनिक ना किया जाए, पब्लिक ना किया जाए, इसलिए उस नाम के बारे में नहीं बताया जा रहा है। लेकिन कुछ उसके दोस्त हैं जो खुलकर इस मामले में स्टेटमेंट भी दे रहे हैं, और तस्वीरों को भी साझा कर रहे हैं कि उनके बीच का रिश्ता बहुत अच्छा नहीं रहा था। तो एक तरह से कहा जा सकता है कि दिल्ली पुलिस की टीम अब जो मुंबई टीम पहुंची है, तो मुंबई में जाने के बाद कई लोगों का स्टेटमेंट दर्ज करेगी, और खास तौर पर श्रद्धा के उन दोस्तों का स्टेटमेंट रिकॉर्ड करेगी जो आफ्ताब और श्रद्धा के बीच के रिश्ते की एक चश्मदीद रहे हों और आई विटनेस रहे हों, जो इन कड़ियों के बीच में काफी बेहतर तरीके से जानते हों, तो उन लोगों का भी स्टेटमेंट इस मामले में दर्ज किया जाएगा।
Ji Shankar Anand, धन्यवाद for getting us those details. Now there are several chats that have been accessed by CNN News 18 in which Shraddha can be seen speaking to her friends and to her manager about how she was beaten up and she had no energy to even get out of bed and get on with life. She speaks to her manager about all the beating. Of course, she does not allude to where the beating came from, but it's one's guess that perhaps it was Aftab, given that several of her friends have spoken of an abusive relationship that she was in. With that, we're slipping into a quick break here on this edition, but lots lined up for you on the other side, so don't go anywhere.
And I think that's something, the one thing which starkly comes across here, that there is
but how can that be, Doctor? You know, look, I'm asking a layman's question. We human beings are wired to be emotional. We are wired, even there can be, you know, cold-hearted people, so on and so forth. But to show no emotion whatsoever after killing your girlfriend and then carrying on with life as normal, I mean, that's not how we human beings are wired. We're not animals.
Absolutely. And yes, there are people who have these antisocial traits where they are able to lie, deceit, con, cross a line, hurt people, hurt individuals, lack empathy, lack remorse, and they are like this. And because they lack remorse, what they do, it doesn't matter to them from their own vantage point.
This is where the case stands 1 week since it came to light. The cops have very, very thin evidence, no murder weapon, no motive, no accomplices, no eyewitnesses. We have seen in the past in this country murder cases, and high-profile ones at that, which depend solely on circumstantial evidence, do not end up getting proven in court of law. The Arushi case, the Talwar case, and of course most recently the Chawla case. Do you see this case also going a similar way?
Zaka, when you talk of these things, in fact, I get really perturbed that why is our criminal justice system so weak? Why these murderers and rapists go scot-free? If you go by NCRB figures, conviction in rape cases is barely 30%, murder is barely 42%. And now if I come to this case, as of today, after 5 days, they've gone for a second remand. They don't have the body of the vital parts of the victim.
Yeah.
They don't have the mobile of Shraddha. They have not been able to recover the blood-stained clothes of Shraddha. And here you have the accused who is trying to take the police of Mumbai and Delhi for a ride. How do we know there were 35 pieces? Because he is telling. How do we know that the clothes were thrown in a garbage van? He is telling.
Yeah.
When Mumbai police called him for investigation, they did not tell Delhi police, they did not alert them that keep an eye on him. The moment the Mumbai police called him for investigation, he destroyed the mobile, sold it off on OLX, as sources say. So definitely, as you said, Arushi murder case, that the last scene theory was that there were 4 people in the house and morning there were 2 alive and 2 were not alive. And even in that, they could not prove the case and CBI had to go for a closure. Definitely here also, you don't have any eyewitnesses. For 2 months, this girl was dead and not one neighbor knew that she was not alive.
Exactly.
And nobody came to complain. Ultimately, some friend who was watching. So, the issue here is that there are no eyewitnesses, there is no direct evidence, and the police has been unable to get the motive or the
So let me ask
the cleaver or the knife, as we say, that is yet to be recovered.
Today the court, in addition to giving remand, also gave the go-ahead for narco analysis to be done on Aftab. Of course, his consent was sought for it. Narco analysis, Nirmal Kaur, as you very well know, is not admissible as evidence in a court of law. What is the police hoping to garner or decipher through this narco analysis? How is it helpful in a case such as this?
See, the police investigation is not very, now with this national investigation going on into it, people tend to have a view that investigations should be, it shouldn't be that difficult. It's highly painstaking work. It is like looking for a needle in a huge stack of hay. So investigation is not that easy. They have to try all the options. So perhaps that is why they've asked for narco tests, that maybe the truth serum or the narco test will be able to give them something, or at least, give some heebie-jeebies to the accused so that he comes out with some new or, he states some new things out of which maybe 10% truth comes out. So maybe that is what their hope is out of this test. But police has to try every avenue. They cannot let anything go. They don't know where
whatever
they'll
he says,
where they'll get a piece of
just
evidence.
give me 10 seconds. Whatever he says, and so far Abba Singh is 100% right. Everything that we have known and put out in the public domain is because he has said it. He can very well turn around in court and say, I said none of this. Or I said all of this in duress, under duress.
Even if he... No, his confession is not admissible in a court of law at all.
Yeah.
So that has no value unless it leads to some findings or it leads to some evidence, solid evidence that can be tied up to link the murder with him. Otherwise, his saying anything has no value in a court of law. It's not even admissible under the Indian Evidence
Let
Act.
me ask Lalita Kumaramangalam. This is, I would say, an eye-opener for young women as well as for their families, particularly young women who, want to experience love, want to see people of their choice, and sometimes families oppose that. But look at the extent to which this case went. I mean, the family had cut off any kind of contact with Shraddha. Shraddha was not talking to them. The fact that she went missing, the family did not even know till 6 months later when the father went and filed a missing persons complaint. I mean, this to me is again one of the sides of the story which we all as parents need to be very, very alert about and aware of.
I agree, Zaka. The fact is, I've been saying this very loudly for the last few days, that while my sympathies and empathy is with the family, I keep telling people that please don't cut off your daughters because they have done something that you don't like. Make sure that they have somebody, some sort of support system they can fall back upon. More than 90% of the time, domestic violence is never reported.
Yeah.
There is enough now to show that her friends have said very clearly that he used to beat her up, he used to stub his cigarette on her back, and this girl kept quiet. Unfortunately, girls are also taught to adjust, compromise. These words are terrible words, but we are always taught this in India. We are not taught to make a noise. We are not taught to talk to others. We are not taught to reach out and ask for help. And families too often shut off their children from the support that they may need in times like this. You know, this poor child has paid the worst possible price for her reluctance and her incapacity perhaps as a human.
Welcome back. A massive political showdown is ensuing in Maharashtra over Congress MP Rahul Gandhi's remark on Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Now, amid the Bharat Jodo Yatra in the state, the Congress MP claimed that Savarkar wrote mercy petitions to the British and accepted pension from them. He further claimed that Savarkar begged the British, called himself the obedient servant. BJP has now hit the streets demanding an apology from the Congress MP for his comments. The state government in Maharashtra too coming down very, very heavily on Rahul Gandhi and the entire Congress party. They have also landed Rahul Gandhi in legal trouble with complaints, several of them being filed against him. But listen in to what Rahul Gandhi said yesterday and the reactions that have now come to the fore to that comment.
ये मेरे लिए सबसे जरूरी डॉक्यूमेंट है। ये देखा आपने? दिख रहा है आपको? और इसमें आप देख लीजिए, ये सावरकर जी की चिट्ठी है जिसमें उन्होंने अंग्रेजों को लिखा है, और मैं पूरी चिट्ठी आपको पढ़नी होगी, देख लीजिए, मैंने हाईलाइट भी कर रखी है, मगर मैं सिर्फ आखिरी लाइन पढ़ना चाहता हूं। अंग्रेजी में लिखी है तो मैं अंग्रेजी में बोल देता हूं। आई बेग टू रिमेन सर योर मोस्ट ओबीडियंट सर्वेंट वी.डी. सावरकर। हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन कर देता हूं। सर, मैं आपका नौकर रहना चाहता हूं। ये मैंने नहीं लिखा, ये सावरकर जी ने लिखा है। तो इसको आप पढ़ लीजिए, देख लीजिए। अगर फडणवीस जी देखना चाहते हैं इसको, वो भी देख लें। तो मैं तो इसमें बहुत क्लियर हूं, सावरकर जी ने अंग्रेजों की मदद की थी।
इनके मन में आया बोल दिया, क्योंकि इनको लगता है मैंने जो बोला वो इतिहास बन गया। इसी गलतफहमी से वो है, मगर महाराष्ट्र में ये गलतफहमी नहीं चलेगी और सरकार इसके ऊपर पूरा, मतलब अभी हमने पुलिस स्टेशन में कंप्लेंट की है, तो इसकी तहकीकात करेंगे और पूरा इसका न्याय होगा और इनके ऊपर कार्रवाई होगी।
महाराष्ट्र में आकर वीर सावरकर के बारे में इस प्रकार से इल्जाम लगाना, सावरकर जी की बदनामी करना, ये न महाराष्ट्र को मंजूर है, न शिवसेना को मंजूर है, हम सबको मंजूर है। महाराष्ट्र के कांग्रेस नेता भी उनका समर्थन नहीं करेंगे। कोई जरूरत नहीं थी। भारत जोड़ो यात्रा चल रहा है, उनको अच्छे समर्थन मिल रहा है, महाराष्ट्र में सबसे ज्यादा समर्थन मिला, तो वीर सावरकर का मुद्दा लाने की जरूरत नहीं थी। उससे महाराष्ट्र विकास अघाड़ी में भी दरार पड़ सकती है, मैं आपको बता रहा हूं, क्योंकि हम वीर सावरकर को हमारी श्रद्धा का स्थान मानते हैं और हमेशा रहेंगे। हम 10 साल से वीर सावरकर जी को भारत रत्न देने की मांग कर रहे हैं, और केंद्र में भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार होने के बावजूद वीर सावरकर जी को भारत रत्न ये लोग क्यों नहीं दे रहे?
राहुल जी का देश का इतिहास का बारे में कोई मालूम नहीं है। अगर वीर सावरकर का बारे में उन्होंने जो शब्द का प्रयोग किया है, इससे उसका मानसिकता को मालूम हो जाता है। वो देश का विरोधी है, हिंदू संस्कृति का वो विरोधी है, वो भारत का विरोधी है। इसीलिए हम यही बताना चाहता हूं कि राहुल जी, आपने जो बात बोला, देश आपका ऊपर प्रतिशोध लेगा।
कोई भी फ्रीडम फाइटर इतने लंबे समय तक उसको कारावास की शिक्षा नहीं हुई थी, इतनी कारावास की शिक्षा सावरकर जी को हुई थी। उसके बावजूद भी उन पे जो वक्तव्य किया जा रहा है वो बहुत ही निंदाजनक है। हम उसकी निंदा करते हैं। जो हिंदुत्ववादी है उन पे कठोर टीका करना और ये टीका करने के पीछे मतलब भी वोट्स जुटाने का है। इसीलिए मैं सोचता हूँ कि ये निंदाजनक है और ये आगे नहीं चलना चाहिए। इसीलिए महाराष्ट्र की सब जनता को इकट्ठा होना चाहिए, क्योंकि वो स्वतंत्र वीर है और ऐसी कुछ भी चीज़ें जो दिखा के लोगों को गुमराह किया जाता है, ऐसी चीज़ें नहीं होनी चाहिए।
Now, the political war over this is only escalating, with the RSS also now wading in. An RSS ideologue and an author, S. Gurumurthy, has also now come out and fact-checked Rahul Gandhi over the claims that he made yesterday on Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. S. Gurumurthy now taking to Twitter, he says, and I quote, "Mr. Rahul, have you ever gone to Kalapani? Savarkar was not in jail. He was in solitary cell, lodged for 50 years. He was 27 then. He was peaceful. He was no peaceful satyagrahi. He was a revolutionary. Mahatma Gandhi and Ambedkar met him when he was confined in Ratnagiri. They met him because he was a great man. They didn't abuse him. I have lots of differences with him, but that does not mean I have any qualification to comment on his greatness." That's the comment now coming to the fore from S. Gurumurthy, and the war of words only escalating. One fact check after another by the BJP, the RSS, several experts on Savarkar as well coming out and slamming Rahul Gandhi for his comments, for calling Veer Savarkar a coward, for calling him a Maafi Veer. Demand for an apology is echoing from all quarters, not just from the BJP. Veer Savarkar's relatives have also filed for a complaint with the police. They too have demanded Rahul Gandhi's apology. Even putting out some documents, letters by Mahatma Gandhi and several others which also have a similar language, putting the Congress party and Rahul Gandhi in the dock once again. Anand Narasimhan, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Anand, the war of words only escalating, and one fact check after another for Rahul Gandhi.
Yes, it is. And Mr. Gurumurthy coming out and saying that one is trying to understand that all these people have written in the same way because it was a form of letter writing. The other aspect is that that amongst all the very well known and famed freedom fighters and those who are part of the freedom struggle, there were others too. But Savarkar was one who was perhaps incarcerated and watched like a hawk by the British for the longest time. One has to turn around and ask this question: why was Swatantra Veer Savarkar the one person whom the British watched like a hawk, and they really, really wanted and went through with a fine-tooth comb every single word he penned? So much so, and it was not that Rahul Gandhi was perhaps factually erroneous in the fact where he said that 2-3 years he was in Kalapani. No, he was there for more than a decade. He came back only in late 1920, early 1921 when he was released. And also it was at the behest of Mahatma Gandhi that he wrote the letter. It is on record when Veer Savarkar has written to his brother saying that why should I beg for pardon or remission of my sentence till the time the nation wants me. If the people and the society does not want me or need my contribution, why should I ask for remission? I will stay here. This is what he had written to his own elder brother. But Mahatma Gandhi had written to him asking him to write for remission and seek remission because he said that the nation needs you in your fight for the freedom struggle. And this is despite the fact that both Mahatma Gandhi and Veer Savarkar, they differed with each other in terms of political opinion. They had a difference of opinion politically. They differed with each other, but despite that, they respected each other, and this was mutual.
And that is something S. Gurumurthy even points out, Anand, that he says that I have differences with him, but that does not mean I have the qualification to raise any doubts or question him and make comments like that Rahul Gandhi has done. For the moment, thank you so much for putting that in perspective for our viewers. Meanwhile, Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister and senior BJP leader Devendra Fadnavis has also now come out and attacked Rahul Gandhi. Remember, in the press conference yesterday, Rahul Gandhi also named Devendra Fadnavis when he showcased that letter of Veer Savarkar when he made those comments. Devendra Fadnavis has now tweeted a letter from Mahatma Gandhi to the Duke of Connaught where he says, and the letter reads, "Your Highness's faithful servant." Devendra Fadnavis then goes on to say, remember Rahul Gandhi, you targeted Veer Savarkar for the usage or the language that was used. A reminder coming to the fore from Devendra Fadnavis about a letter that Mahatma Gandhi had written in similar fashion. Vinaya, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Vinaya, the Savarkar war is nowhere coming to an end as far as Maharashtra is concerned, and for as long as Bharat Jodo is in Maharashtra, it is only going to boil over.
Well, absolutely. You know, after Rahul Gandhi made that statement yesterday, it was expected that this row will erupt in Maharashtra because remember, whenever Congress has issued a statement on Veer Savarkar in Maharashtra, it has always snowballed into a controversy. This time on, it's not just the opposition, as in it's not just the BJP which has been up in arms against the Congress. It is also the Shiv Sena, which is an ally of the Congress in the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi, which has disowned this kind of a statement. Right now, you saw the Deputy Chief Minister of the state as well jump into the controversy, directly targeting Rahul Gandhi, saying that it seems he hasn't read the entire history and that Mahatma Gandhi also wrote similar letters. So a day after the BJP highlighted that point, a day after the BJP showed Indira Gandhi's letters praising Veer Savarkar, now Deputy Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis himself has jumped into the controversy, asking Rahul Gandhi if he has read enough of
Sorry to interrupt you there, Vinay, but Aditya Thackeray is also now addressing a press conference. Let's just cut across.
हा दुसरा मोठा विषय असा जसा रस्त्याचा विषय आहे तसा एक महत्त्वाचा विषय आहे सगळेच नगरसेवकांकडे मान्य करतील कुठल्याही पक्षात असो तो म्हणजे 1700 कोटी जे नोटिफिकेशनला जाहीर झालेले आहे 1700 कोटी जाहीर झालेले ते 1700 कोटी आले का तर जे नगरसेवकांचे भ्रष्टाचार अधिकाराचे पैसे असतात जे आपण दत्तक बसवत असेल खबर असेल आदिवासी मानवत असेल गटाराच्या लागीचे पैसे ते छोटे मोठे कामांसाठी आपण हे वापरतो हा पैसा सगळा तिथे न जाता यावरती डायव्हर्ट केल्याचं मला समजतं याचा महापालिकेने सर्वे करून द्यावं की मला माझं मत आहे की जसं मी उद्योगासाठी घट्टपणे मुख्यमंत्र्यांना चॅलेंज दिले की चला उद्योग का महाराष्ट्र बाहेर करतात वेदांत बॉक्सवर चर्चा करूया प्रेससमोर तसं मी आज सांगतो की प्रेससमोर येऊन घटना आहे मुख्यमंत्र्यांनी 5,000 कोटीचे टेंडर का नाही नीट झाले का रिकॉल केलं रस्त्याच्या पुढे काय होणार ह्याच्यावर सांगायला पाहिजे आणि दुसरी गोष्ट म्हणजे ते 1700 कोटी जे नगरसेवकांच्या हक्काचे होते ते मुंबईकरांच्या हक्काचे होते ते ब्युटिफिकेशनला डायव्हर्ट केल्यानंतर अजून एक महत्त्वाची गडबड याच्यात अशी झालेली आहे जे मी अनेक आमच्या प्रशासनाच्या अधिकाऱ्यांशी चर्चा करत आहे वॉर्ड ऑफिसर मला सांगत असतात की हे ब्युटिफिकेशनचा फंड जो वॉर्डला दिलेला आहे त्याला कुठलीही गाईडलाईन नसल्यामुळे नक्की हा ब्युटिफिकेशन वरती करायचं काय त्याच्यात खूप मोठा प्रश्न आहे अनेक ठिकाणी 2-3 वेळा टेंडर काढलेले रिकॉल केलेले मला एक या घटनाबाहेर सरकारला सांगायचं आहे की ब्युटिफिकेशन म्हणजे काय एलबी राईट्स मागणं एवढंच नसतं मागे की अभिमान ट्रॅफिक सिग्नल्स काढले एलबी राईट्स सुरू केले लाईटिंग वेगवेगळ्या ठिकाणी केलं पण हे फक्त लाईट लावण्यासाठी असं नव्हतं केलं निसर्गाच्या लाईट सगळ्याचं लाईट लावलं खूप जास्त मोठी सगळी योजना केली जाते असं काही उगाच रात्री विचार केला की अरे ह्या ट्रॅफिक सिग्नलला त्याला लाईट कशी करावी असं नसतं तिथे जिल्हा क्रॉसिंग कसं आहे फुटपाथ कुठे आहे तो लाईट किती लांबून दिसतो सिग्नल किती लांबून दिसतात हा सगळा विचार करून मुंबईचा विचार करू आम्ही मुंबईचं होतो आणि हेच इतर शहरांमध्ये आम्ही रेप्लिकेट करू पण झालं असं आहे एकीकडे 5,000 कोटीची गडबड आता 1700 कोटीचा गोल्ड जो झालेला आहे हा सर्व मुंबईकरांचा पैसा आहे आणि ह्याच पैशावर त्या कोटी सध्याचे डोळे आहेत आपण आठवण करा मी अनेकदा बोललेलं मध्यंतरी एका पंक्तीमध्ये बोलतो की सोन्याचं अंतर देणारी कोंबडी ही मुंबई त्यांच्यासाठी असेल आपल्याकडे जन्मभूमी आहे कर्मभूमी आणि तीच भूमी आम्ही एवढं जपत आलेलो आहे आणि ते काम करत आहे तसं हे 2 मोठे गोळे आहेत असे अनेक वेगवेगळे टेंडर्स आहेत अनेक वेगवेगळी कामं आहेत जी आता गेल्या 3 महिन्यात केलेली आहे पण कुठे क्लॅरिटी मुंबई महानगरपालिकेकडून किंवा या मोठी सरकारकडून आलेली नाही हे ठरवतं कोण आहे मंजूर कोण करत आहे आदेश कोण देत आहे रिकॉल करण्याचे किंवा कॉम्बॅक्ट करण्याचे आदेश कोण देत आहे म्हणतात पुढे काय होत आहे या गेल्या 3 महिन्यामध्ये मुंबईत किती इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरचे प्रोजेक्ट सुरू झाले या गेल्या 3 महिन्यामध्ये मुंबईत किती इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरचे प्रोजेक्ट
Aditya Thackeray is talking about the BMC. He says that the focus of the Shiv Sena was on Mumbai and on BMC, and that tenders were issued on time. And in case the road work for the city does not,
मुंबई महानगरपालिकेत अनेक असे ऑफिसर्स आहेत जे प्रत्येक म्हणजे गेल्या 10-15 वर्षात बघितलं
if it is not completed within the stipulated time, the unconstitutional chief minister will be responsible for this.
काही लोक असे आहेत ज्यांचे 90 दिवसात 6 बदले झाले. काही लोक असे आहेत की ज्यांचे 24 तासात
He has also targeted the government, saying
काही लोक असे आहेत ज्यांचे 24 तासात 2 बदले झालेले आहेत. आणि या
the farmers haven't yet received any help.
गेले 25 वर्ष शिवसेनेने देखील प्रशासन बघितले महानगरपालिकेचं.
Maharashtra addressing a press conference, but let's also cut across to the grandnephew of Veer Savarkar, who's also briefing the media on Rahul Gandhi's comments.
आणि सामान्य बंदीवानाला 6 महिन्यानंतर बाहेर पाठवायचे, तर तो अर्ज त्याच्यासाठी होता. आणि त्यांनी असं म्हटलं की जर तुम्हाला अंदमानमध्ये ठेवणं कठीण असेल तर मला भारतात किंवा ब्रह्मदेशातील तुरुंगात पाठवा, ही त्यांची मुख्य मागणी होती. आणि त्याच्यात त्यांनी असं म्हटलं आहे की जगात सगळीकडे क्रांतिकारकांना किंवा राजकीय बंदीवानांना माणुसकीची वागणूक मिळते, पण ब्रिटिश साम्राज्यात आम्हाला अमानवी मागणी मिळते. जर हा दयेचा अर्ज असता, जर हा क्षमेचा अर्ज असता, तर अशी भाषा कोणी लिहिल का याच्यात?
by other colonizers in the world, and we were not being given such a treatment under this British rule.
14 मध्ये
Then he had made another application.
आता महायुद्ध सुरू आहे, देशावर संकट आहे, तर तुम्ही सगळ्या राजकीय कैद्यांना सोडा.
That a world war was going on,
माझ्याबद्दल शंका असेल किंवा माझ्यामुळे
and that is why
अडचण असेल तर मला
all the freedom fighters should be released
त्याच्यानंतर
at
17
this
अर्जात
juncture.
सावरकर लिहितात, जर सरकारला वाटत
If you have any doubts about me,
लिहित आहे
don't release
किंवा
me. सर्वांच्या
सुटकेत माझं नाव असणं हाच मुख्य
If the government feels that I am writing this application
समाधान मिळेल तितकेच
so that I can be released,
सुटकेने मिळेल.
then I request the government to release everyone else, but me,
देश विदेश भटकत होते,
I'll be as happy if others are released
मातृभूमीच्या बाहेर गेले होते,
instead of me.
त्यांनाही परत येण्याची संधी मिळावी असं सावरकर लिहितात. आणि अशीच याचिका त्यांनी 18 साली परत केली, पूर्ण शब्दशः अशीच.
He had made a similar petition thereafter as well. If you look at the British documents at that time,
हे 17, 18, 14 याच्याबद्दल ब्रिटिश म्हणतात की हे पिटिशन.
Veer Savarkar's grandson there, someone who's filed a complaint against Rahul Gandhi, putting out facts for the Congress party that war continues, and we'll keep a track of that. But a quick break on this edition for now.
He has said it. He can very well turn around in court and say, I said none of this. Or I said all of this in duress, under duress.
Even if he... No, his confession is not admissible in a court of law at all.
Yeah.
So that has no value unless it leads to some findings or it leads to some evidence, solid evidence that can be tied up to link the murder with him. Otherwise, his saying anything has no value in a court of law. It's not even admissible under the Indian Evidence
Let
Act.
me ask Lalita Kumaramanglam, this is, I would say, an eye-opener for young women as well as for their families, particularly young women who, you know, want to experience love, want to see people of their choice, and sometimes, you know, families oppose that. But look at the extent to which this case went. I mean, the family had cut off any kind of contact with Shraddha. Shraddha was not talking to them. The fact that she went missing, the family did not even know till 6 months later when the father went and filed a missing persons complaint. I mean, this to me is again one of the sides of the story which we all as parents need to be very, very alert about and you know, aware of.
I agree, Zaka. The fact is, I've been saying this very loudly for the last few days, that while my sympathies and empathy is with the family, I keep telling people that please don't cut off your daughters because they have done something that you don't like. Make sure that they have somebody, some sort of support system they can fall back upon. more than 90% of the time, domestic violence is never reported.
Yeah.
There is enough now to show that her friends have said very clearly that he used to beat her up, he used to stub his cigarette on her back, and this girl kept quiet. Unfortunately, girls are also taught to adjust, compromise. These words are terrible words, but we are always taught this in India. We are not taught to make a noise. We're not taught to talk to others. We're not taught to reach out and ask for help. And families too often shut off their children from the support that they may need in times like this. You know, this poor child has paid the worst possible price for her reluctance and her incapacity perhaps as a human being because of whatever she's been through in many years from family, from this boy, God knows where else and whom else. She couldn't have even reached out to her friend. She never told them that she was being beaten up. Now this guy, this is the fear that even I have in this case, that this chap is not some ordinary killer. He's not just a pathological liar or anything like that. I think he's doing everything in a very calculated manner. And I really don't know if one person could have done what he managed to do to that child's body. So there are so many things that need to be looked at by the police, but I do agree with Nirmalji when she says that the forensics in this country really need to be shored up. I have had, you know, when we used to train police women in the Northeast, etc., they have told us that, ma'am, in rape cases, by the time we take the material, the human material that they have, we have to go all the way from places like Siliguri to Calcutta by overnight train. Some of the material is compromised. Now, this is probably what everybody is afraid of in this case. Because it's been so long that this girl has not been on the radar and nobody bothered.
No, so I want to ask Dr. Samir Parekh, you know, give us an insight into the mind of such a person. Here is someone who was in a relationship for, I think, 2 or 3 years. Whatever differences they had, he kills his girlfriend and then cuts up her body and puts it in a refrigerator and then carries on as though everything is hunky-dory, as though life is as normal as it can be. I mean, he's dating other women. Some of those women are brought to the house, and all this while, the cut-up dead body of his girlfriend is inside this fridge. I mean, normal human beings are not wired that after committing a murder, we behave like as though nothing has happened. Surely something is wrong with this young man.
Zaka, the right way to look at this, and to be honest, you don't need a psychiatrist to say this, but think like this. You hurt someone where there were feelings. You've been with this person for a while. You hurt someone and hurt someone badly. In this case, you are looking at killing someone. And then what happened afterwards? What is missing? Remorse. What is missing? Empathy. What is missing? The basic core human feeling that if I hurt you, I should feel that I am hurting you. Once I don't feel even that, what is the difference between a human and one that wouldn't be? And I think that's something, the one thing which starkly comes across here, that there is
but how can that be, Doctor? You know, look, I'm asking a layman's question. We human beings are wired to be emotional. We are wired, there can be, you know, cold-hearted people, so on and so forth. But to show no emotion whatsoever after killing your girlfriend and then carrying on with life as normal, I mean, that's not how we human beings are wired. We're not animals.
Absolutely. And yes, there are people who have these antisocial traits where they are able to lie, deceit, con, cross a line, hurt people, hurt individuals, lack empathy, lack remorse, and they are like this. And because they lack remorse, what they do, it doesn't matter to them from their own vantage point.
This is where the case stands 1 week since it came to light. The cops have very, very thin evidence, no murder weapon, no motive, no accomplices, no eyewitnesses. We have seen in the past in this country murder cases, and high-profile ones at that, which depend solely on circumstantial evidence, do not end up getting proven in court of law. The Arushi case, the Talwar case, and of course most recently the Chawla case. Do you see this case also going a similar way?
Zaka, when you talk of these things, in fact, I get really perturbed that why is our criminal justice system so weak? Why these murderers and rapists go scot-free? If you go by NCRB figures, conviction in rape cases is barely 30%, murder is barely 42%. And now if I come to this case, as of today, after 5 days, they've gone for a second remand. They don't have the body of the vital parts of the victim.
Yeah.
They don't have the mobile of Shraddha. They have not been able to recover the blood-stained clothes of Shraddha. And here you have the accused who is trying to take the police of
Welcome back. News coming in, and government sources are now revealing to CNN News 18 that all dating apps and intermediaries come under the IT rules. The government has now said that they will relook at these apps and reframe the rules if necessary. Pallavi, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Pallavi, significant development coming to the fore in the aftermath of what we've seen as far as the Shraddha case goes.
Yes, and in fact, there has been a lot of concern which has been raised over these dating apps and how they are easily accessible and obviously open to misuse, especially among the younger generation. See, there's nothing much that government can do actively in terms of intervening, but what the government has made very clear is that these are intermediaries, therefore they're governed by the same IT rules as other social media apps are. But when we asked them this specific question about whether you're going to look into dating apps like Bumble, Tinderbox and so on, they said we are going to relook the guidelines which are in place, and if possible and if needed, we are going to reframe some of these guidelines to ensure that they're not misused by the younger generation.
Right, so the government, they're going on record, or at least sources now telling us that they are ready to relook at this, given that this could affect several young people in the country. Pallavi getting us that exclusive information. For now, shifting focus. Sources are now telling your channel that Home Minister Amit Shah raised the issue of attack on Hindus in Bangladesh while he met his counterpart this afternoon. Remember, Amit Shah did tweet that picture of his meeting with his counterpart, and we're given to understand that the attack on Hindus in Bangladesh is something that did come up. Arunima, my colleague, now joins me for more on this. Yes, Arunima.
So what we are told by officials is that during this meeting that happened between Indian Home Minister Amit Shah and his counterparts from Bangladesh, Home Minister of Bangladesh, Mr. Khan, during this meeting with Asaduzzaman Khan, Home Minister, spoke about various issues, including the recent spate of attacks that have happened against minorities in Bangladesh, essentially Hindus, and the way their temples have been attacked. This discussion was on the border situation as well. Representatives of border guarding forces were present. BSF DG was present in this meeting. Union Home Secretary was present along with other officials. In this meeting, Home Minister did raise this issue and expressed that India was concerned as far as these attacks that are happening on temples, on festivals like Durga Puja, etc., when temples are attacked and minorities are beaten up. It does raise a lot of concern here in India.
Right, Arunima, thank you so much for getting us that latest information. Shifting focus now to a controversy down south. Yesterday, the centre filed a review petition in the Supreme Court against the November 11th order of the release of 6 convicts in the 1990 Rajiv Gandhi assassination case. The Ministry of Home Affairs said that the order for the release of 4 convicted Sri Lankan nationals was passed without giving the union government an opportunity of being heard. They said that it is a sensitive matter and the assistance of the union government is of paramount importance because this matter could have huge repercussions on public order, peace and criminal justice system of the country. But the politics in Tamil Nadu continues because the DMK says that death sentence needs to be abolished. They go on to say that all convicts should be free, and the decision last week from the Supreme Court is in the right spirit because these convicts have spent over 30 years in jail already.
We have been saying right from the day one that these convicts should not be released, and that is what our stand was. Whether it is BJP or the central government, we were very, very clear because it will have international ramifications. That's what we have said in our affidavit also. But now the centre has filed an affidavit saying that, a revision petition, saying that the court should have consulted or heard what the central government says. Without hearing, the court has given this judgment, and also the court, I think it has in a hasty thing, they have released 4 of the convicts who are not Indians, they are foreigners. And we have been saying this for a very long time. And that is the reason. Now, there is no other go that they have gone to detention centers.
DMK stand has been that no person should be put to death. In fact, 2014 manifesto of DMK had suggested that death penalty should be abolished, and 160 of the 190 odd United Nations member countries have abolished death sentence. The primary purpose of judiciary should be to reform a person, reduce recidivism, and not completely punish. It's about, as our late leader Kalania says, it's about changing the heart of the person and to reform them. That should be the main goal. So these people, including Nalini, have shown exemplary conduct in jail. They have become educated, they have written articles and so on and so forth. They have reformed themselves. So now there is no point why they should stay in prison beyond this.
The ADMK stand was very clear. When Porchitalevi Amma took the call, it was on humanitarian grounds. It was no way seeking exception against the law. After the death sentence were commuted to life and they were languishing in the prison close to 2 decades, that's where we pitched in. Our leader pitched in and say, on humanitarian grounds you have to take a call, and we are willing to invoke Article 161, wherein the centre has an objection towards it. So it's a long legal battle. Now the appeal filed by the centre will raise eyebrows, and definitely there will be billion questions. Why now? Why not earlier? It could be during the trial, or it could be even in the course of the case they could have filed an appeal if they want to cite a case of national importance and sovereignty. So that question will rise, and centre has to give a convincing answer for the same, post which our leader will take a call.
Hello and welcome to the special edition of Viewpoint, live to you from Mumbai tonight, where the politics of the son of the soil, Veer Savarkar, has been ignited again. And it started with Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, who was in the middle of his Bharat Jodo Yatra, flashing a letter in which he claimed that Savarkar was seen begging the British for mercy. Now, from the cellular jail in Andamans, it is a fact that Savarkar did write that letter not once but on multiple occasions, but the context of that letter may be missing. What he and fellow life-term inmates were undergoing in that prison, that context may be missing. That is what